Welcome to the Overland Sea podcast. Today we are talking about the obliteration of Spurs at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Andrew, lots and lots to discuss, to go over. Craziest game I've seen in a long time. I thought the Arsenal-Newcastle game, or the Newcastle-Arsenal game, I should say, was going to be the crazy game of the Premier League that weekend. It's almost as if two teams got together and went, yeah, we can beat that. Roller coaster of emotions. Let's start off at the beginning because there is so much to go through and to discuss. Give me your thoughts on the lineup. You were pretty close, if not bang on, I think, with your selected 11. I can go through the 11 for you now. It was Sanchez, James, Dizazi, Silva, Colwill, Caicedo, Enzo, Palmer, Gallagher, Sterling, and Jackson.
Yeah, I think I had Cucurella a left back and Dizazi dropped out. Colwill went into centre back.
Yeah.
And I think I'd have been more comfortable with my team, to be honest, than I was with the one that we put out. We did concede from that side. Colwill playing left back. And I think he's just not a left back. I don't think it's his fault, but he's not a left back. So
it's a deflection.
That's the only reason I don't put him in. Yeah. But I think
I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying, but it is a deflection. Like, it's not as if he's got completely turned around and you're going, oh, he looks out of position. Like, it was a deflection.
No, but there's been a lot of chat after the game. I don't know how to play left back, but from people that are saying, like Gary Neville, and I think Joe Cole came out and said that he needs to stop backing into his area. Left backs need to get out of the box and sort of keep the ball out of the box rather than sort of letting them run in. And I think he let Kulusevski run in, cut inside. Although he didn't cut inside Colwill, he came into the box and he's got a dangerous left foot. And when you let people shoot, sometimes those things happen and they get deflections.
Yeah, I mean...
But it's not one to blame him for, but I just think he's not a natural left back. He will make little errors, and little errors can lead to goals. I'm a lot more comfortable with him at centre back. And Dizazi worries me because and I've realised the main reason Dizazi worries me is because he dithers on the ball and then has to give it back to Sanchez. And I fucking hate it when Sanchez gets the ball to feet. It scares the life out of me. And that's probably 8% of the reason that I wouldn't have Dizazi in the team.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think it was Glenn Johnson. They just said Johnson on a report that I read. So I'm going to go with Glenn Johnson. He came out and said he needs to stop playing a left back as well because he'll get found out. I do think the goal was unlucky. It's a deflection, but everything you said is completely accurate with regards to how that goal came about. Other than that, I thought he had a good game, to be honest. He did lose his head a little bit at half time.
More than a little bit, but
yeah, I thought he was gone, to be honest. I didn't even know what kicked it off, to be honest. Just while we're on that subject, agree with the substitution at half time for Colwill?
Yeah, I think after we got the booking, the way the game was going as well, there was no reason for us to go down to 10 men and sort of join them at that point. And he obviously was more worked up than anyone else. He's a Chelsea Academy prospect, and I think those players are likely to be more passionate about those games with the South Americans, apparently, who are just passionate for every game and want to kick shit out of everyone at every possible opportunity.
But do you not think actually, because I wanted to bring this up and you've already kind of gone in there, so I'm going to ask the question now or make a statement. I'm not really sure which way it's going to go. But what is it with Spurs and against us and actually kicking the living shit out of us? Is it just me that's just come out that just thinks that, or because I don't think they do that against any other team, but for some reason against us they are They are literally kicking us at every moment they possibly can, and constant fouls.
I
Off the park.
personally, I think since the Battle of the Bridge, where that game they should have had two players sent off, and you will never. Eric Dyer, don't know how the bloke wasn't booked. He did three straight red card offence challenges, and somehow I don't think he even got booked in that game. And I think every game since that, I think they've been incredibly fortunate to have 11 men on the pitch. Some games 10. I mean,
Not this game.
no. Finally, we actually got a referee. And even still, I'm sitting here thinking, I think Chelsea were quite hard done by with the yellow cards and the decisions that went, even though they went down to 9 men, the other team. I,
That was going to be
it wasn't like
that
I
was going to
felt
be my next question.
fortunate. I mean, the doggy should have gone significantly earlier. Romero was lucky for not getting sent off when he kicked off, when he kicked out.
That's exactly what I was going to say. So I've got them actually written down because ironically, the two players that could have got sent off in the first half ended up being the two players sent off in the second half. So with that, you think the Udogie yellow card, the 2-footed off the ground stud showing on Sterling.
Ricardo Carvalho got sent off for those 15 years ago. It's ridiculous.
Well,
the fact that Raheem Sterling pulls his leg away so there's not that much contact doesn't mean that it's any less of a dangerous and reckless challenge. It's so much worse than the Malagusto challenge that he got sent off for earlier in the season.
Thank you. That's exactly what
he's got his whole body weight going in down like that. If Sterling doesn't stop running, he's planting his foot on the ground, his left leg on the ground, and the doggie's going straight through his shin and snapping it in half. Because it's mental to me that it didn't go.
I saw it and I was like, and I tell you why I thought he was going to get a yellow card. I thought it should have been a red. I'll tell you why I thought he was going to get a yellow card. Because Kai Havertz got a yellow card in the Newcastle-Arsenal game, and I thought that should have been a red card. So the fact that happened, I was like, I wouldn't be surprised if Udogie gets a yellow card here.
But usually they have a chat after them and go, we probably fucked this one up. So they're then more aware of those challenges and more stringent on it. It doesn't make any sense to me. And I think, to be honest, I noticed it during that game as well, where there was a lot of sort of pushing and argy-bargy. And for some reason, a push and is only a yellow. Like if you just shove someone randomly, that's only a yellow if then there's a confrontation after it. The other player has to react and they both get yellowed. Whereas a lot in that game, there's a lot of shoving, and the other team didn't. Well, we didn't react, there was just no booking, there was nothing, and it was just like, what?
Yeah, I think that's more. I agree with what you're saying. I think that's more to do with. I don't know how to word it. I think it's more to do with the fact that obviously the FA, the Premier League, they don't want violent conduct on the pitch. Now, obviously, you take away a dirty challenge as violent conduct, obviously, but in terms of two players.
But if one of them is violent towards the other one by pushing them, and then they don't react, why is that any less of an issue?
Oh, I completely agree. I completely agree with you. I don't personally get that, to be honest. But then again, we've said this before. We don't understand a lot of the rules or why they do what they do at the moment. A lot of it doesn't actually make sense. Where you look at certain things and you go, "Well, he's deliberately squared up to and started pushing another player. How is that not, violent conduct to a certain extent?" So Doggy should have been sent off. I agree in the first instance. Romero kick out. Ironically, he actually kicked out at the wrong player, because it was after a challenge by Silva.
Yeah.
And he even looks up. The thing that I didn't understand with this was he looks up appealing for a free kick. And he's seen that Colwell's next to him, because he's had to go round with his eye line, realised that game's gone on, and then he's kicked him. And apparently it's not violent conduct or something. I was like,
It's just petulance.
I don't understand that one. It's not like he's kicked out in anger and accidentally caught the guy. Like he's seen that he's there. He's literally had to do this to turn around, look at the ref.
I don't think he's kicked, but I would be more forgiving if he's kicked out in anger. I don't think he's kicked out in anger because I don't think you look around for the referee and then kick out in anger. And I don't think he was even really appealing for it by the time he sort of got up. He kind of half got up, looked at the referee, looked in the general direction of the referee, and then just kicked him.
Yeah, and then after that, he's then rolled around on the floor as if he was injured from the first challenge.
I mean, to be honest, I don't think it should have got that far. I think he should have been booked. About 30 seconds earlier, he ran straight through the back of Thiago Silva.
Yes, he
did. The ref told him to get back up.
Yes.
For a challenge, that challenge was exactly the same as what Malo Gusto got booked for.
Yeah.
But off the ball, and somehow that makes it okay. And I think the ref just allowed the far too much, far too early. And the game was allowed to get into this ridiculous state where there's just people flying in everywhere. And then he had to try and reel it back in. And by then it was too late.
I mean, to be fair, I always think with these games, I've said it for a while now, since the Battle of the Bridge, and if not a couple of years before that, I actually think the rivalry between Spurs and Chelsea is bigger than Spurs and Arsenal now. And someone actually said to me the other day, why is that? And I was like, do you know what? I don't actually know. I don't know why that's.
It feels more feisty.
Yeah.
In the game. I don't think the fans would agree, but for some reason the player, for me, it always feels like Tottenham just have this switch in their brain that they just kick the shit out of us. I don't really understand it.
But before we carry on with some of the other incidents, the thing that surprises me about that is you've got a new manager, right? Because and then if you look at the players that are playing now for Spurs, there's not many that were actually in the Battle of the Bridge, which is when Pochettino was with them. There's only a handful.
Yeah, I don't.
If that
was it, Son,
Dyer,
but Dyer didn't even start.
No, but he did come on. But this is what I'm saying in terms of a squad mentality. From back then, when Battle of the Bridge, there's only a few players that were actually ever involved.
I think it's one of those that's kind of carried on since, and it's kind of every time we play them, it just seems to be reinforced into the team. I don't know whether it's by the players. It's probably just by the players or something. But it just seems to baffle me that I think there is an extra venom in the challenges when Tottenham play us that I don't think we're allowed to give back. If you look at the yellow cards that we got in that game versus the challenges that they put in, some of them weren't even fouls.
No, we'll get onto that. I noticed a lot more of that in the second half. But anyway, just quickly with the other challenges, Romero's actual red card, which, I mean, to be fair, even before we get to the red card, the way that we got to the VAR check on that was really weird, I thought, because the referee was standing right behind Enzo when that challenge came in and didn't really even take any notice of it. Like, he didn't even say, like, play on. Didn't even put his hand out to say play on or anything. Like, he just sort of went over it. And then VAR brought that back. Clear red card.
You can't. I mean, if Gary Neville's telling me that a defender doesn't clear a ball like that, fine. I think even if you do clear a ball like that, you have to have some semblance of, oh, there's a player there, I can't just absolutely boot them. And he's one of those defenders in the same vein as Tony Rudiger that you kind of love the passion when he's on your team, but it's like, it's a bit fucking weird, isn't it? What is he doing there? Why has he gone in like that? Why has he done that? Like, what was he thinking? He loses
control of the ball. And I think he's panicked, and I think he's genuinely lost control of the ball, realised that he can get to it. And you can see it in his face as his facial expression as he's going in. Like, he scrunches up his face and he proper goes for it. But he does, for some weird reason, follow through with his studs, where it's like you didn't.
The only benefit of the doubt that I'm willing to give him is the fact that it was on Enzo. I think if it was on anyone else, I think he'd have gone for him. But because it's Enzo and he's Argentinian and they I assume that they're like somewhat get along. They want a World Cup together, and he probably wants him fit.
Enzo went up to speak to him after it before he got sent off, and I think he
Mm,
put his hand out or something. He made some sort of gesture in sort of sportsmanship, kind of, we play for the same national team, we've won the World
yeah,
Cup together, and he actually gives me like a little push or slaps his hand away, like he's not having any of it. And it's just
Romero
like,
is an animal. I have absolutely no time for the bloke. He was the bloke that pulled Cucurella's hair last year.
yeah.
I have I have no time for it, and quite frankly, I'm going. How long was Suarez banned for biting someone, but
Which
somehow pulling someone's hair is significantly better than
which
that?
which time
The one that it was in the Prem,
live against Ivanovic?
yeah, was he even banned for that one?
I don't think he.
What was he banned for 8 games for? Because I don't think that was racism. Because I don't think that was proven.
I no, he was not allowed to play during that time because that's when Liverpool did all those T-shirts, and then that created a big hoo-ha as well, because they wore T-shirts and like support of Suarez during the warm-up. Um, I thought he got the
I
lengthy
know it was for racially abusing. Yeah,
because he also got a lengthy ban after the World Cup. I thought because he bit Chiellini in the 2014 World Cup in Rio, well, Brazil.
he was banned for 9 games and sent home from the tournament.
Yeah.
Walk out.
I'll never forget someone put a bet on him. He'd do that, and he won like 300 something grand. Fucking
Oh,
outstanding.
FIFA banned him for 4 months.
There you go. I knew he had monthly ban. I knew there was a big month ban, and I thought it was that one because that was like the second, if not the
And he got
third.
banned for 10 games by the FA for biting Branislav Ivanovic.
Yeah.
But I don't actually like. Obviously, that's ridiculously abhorrent. Like biting someone is completely unnecessary. But so is grabbing someone by the hair and yanking them down, and so is kicking someone in the back of the leg. And I think once you're a repeat offender and you do these things that are completely unnecessary, at a certain point, someone's got to go, right, this bloke can't keep doing this. And it does bring the FA, like the Premier League, into disrepute if we've just got this one person that's allowed to just kick people, pull them down by the hair, and do this nonsense. You just have to start going, right, you're a repeat offender. You get banned for longer because it's utterly ridiculous. The bloke's had 4 red cards in like 3 seasons.
75 appearances.
It's not even 3 seasons.
No, it's not. And then just to finalize the decisions, and there's one more I need to throw in here as well. After this one, actually, sorry, is the Udogi second yellow card. I mean, I'm not being funny. Even the player knew he was getting booked.
Oh, yeah. Carl on yellow. I will admit that the ball should never have got there because I don't know what the fuck Sterling was doing, not feeding Jackson in on the left. But
You can't do a through ball, mate. We know this.
Jesus Christ. But yeah, I don't think you can have any complaints about any of the decisions that went against Tottenham.
No, I don't think so. The only one that I can talk about with regards to Chelsea, and I did get worried at one point again, following the Newcastle Arsenal game, where fucking hell, what's his name? Gimenez.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, I think his was a lot worse. Where he ran up behind Jorginho and either forearmed or elbowed him in the head.
Mm.
Reece James got pulled up by VAR where he sort of swung his arm in front of a player. The way that they reacted, I thought, oh crap, we could be in trouble here, but I didn't think there was anything that much into it. He's not gone for the player's face. He's put his arm up to jump and obviously to block the player.
I think he doesn't look at the player, which I think always helps in those situations. I think if he gives it a look and then sticks his arm out, you go, right, well, he looked dead at him. He didn't do that. He probably knows that he's there and he's probably using an arm to sort of shield himself, but he doesn't know exactly where the bloke is.
100%.
Doesn't really catch him in the elbow, catches him in the forearm. If it was a free kick and a booking, fine. Like,
yeah, but
I'd agree with it. But
violent conduct was a little bit out there.
Red would be punchy in that, especially in that game.
Well, considering other
Yeah.
things, yeah, absolutely. Um, before I go into actually, do I? No, I always do. I'll go do this first. We were quite lucky as well. Before I go into like ask you the whole, how did we play tactically? Because let's face it, we did 11 and then against 10 and then against 9. So I'd like to get your thoughts on how you thought we coped. I'll use the word coped with that. But not only did they lose their centre back, Romero, for a red card, they bring on Dyer, and that was his first appearance of the season, I believe. They then lose Van der Ven when he pulled his hamstring, and they also lost James Maddison to a freak injury. Don't even know what happened to him in the end. He pulled something in his ankle or something by the looks of it. I mean, there was a bit of luck on our side yesterday. Do you think?
I don't ever want to say that players getting injured is good luck for the other team. I think going into that game, how many injuries could they possibly have had to players that are in contention for to actually start that game? Richarlison needs a surgery. I don't know if he was on the bench or if
He
he was
was
just
he was on the
there,
bench. He was on the bench.
but he's not fully fit. So if I give him Richarlison, I don't think there's really anyone else. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if they've got another left back on top of a doggy who would start.
They
But
just
Pedro Porro is the start. Like I
well,
think that was the starting team, wasn't it?
Benaker came on in the second half, and he had just come back from an injury. But other than that,
Oh,
like,
man, that's the same as Reese, though, really, isn't it? Reese has just come back from an injury.
yeah,
Maybe he's a week or two ahead, but no Ben Chilwell, no Nkunku, no Bro, your backup striker.
but Shield's only just come back.
But Shield's only just come back. Lavia, who's a decent midfield option, not there. We had eight.
Caliber,
We still had 8 injuries.
yeah.
3 of them are in contention to start with how Nicholas Jackson's been playing and how good Broja looked before he got re-injured. There's no guarantee that Jackson would have started that game and Broja wouldn't have had a look in. So,
Well, Mudryk had just come back as well, so he was on the bench because he had what, 2, 3 max games out.
yeah. So, I mean, I think it's one of those that was kind of bound to happen. They don't have a big squad. They don't have a lot of strength in depth. And if you're playing the same 11 every week, you're inevitably it's going to catch up with you. They had a
And the
10
way that they
game.
play.
They also had a 10-day break between games. So, like, they had the perfect opportunity to get their players fit and ready for it. It's not like it's the Christmas period and they had no choice. They've got a game every 3 days. And it's not like if they were like impact injuries and the stuff that we did, you're like, yeah, okay, that's unfortunate because it's a coming together and they've just come off worse. But both of them are just muscular injuries that they've sustained. And yeah, there is an element of bad luck for Tottenham, but I think it's more in the situation that it happened in,
Yeah, that's what I
where
mean.
they got players sent off and then they
No, but
also then get
that's
injured
exactly
and
my
get
point.
injured.
Sorry, that's exactly my point. Not the fact that they had 2 injuries, but in terms of, I mean, James Maddison getting injured for one is a real blow, especially in a game like that. And then to lose your other centre back, who's actually having a
But
very good season. I
I
will
think,
say that. I will give them I will give them a little bit of credit.
well, I mean, they are having a good season. They were top of the league before the start of the weekend, right?
Yeah, they're 1 point behind City now. Had they won, they would have been 2 points ahead.
Yes, they've obviously had a good season. Madison has been instrumental in that. I haven't watched a lot of Tottenham, but I've heard a lot of good things about their centre back partnership. Doggy seems to have played quite well. So, yes, it's unfortunate. I think I've heard a lot about Tottenham coming away thinking, oh, they're incredible and Chelsea were rubbish yesterday because we didn't put the ball in the net, 8 times? We had enough chances to score a significant amount of goals because of their tactics that they got so much praise for. And I think my issue with it at the minute is people saying, oh, Chelsea didn't won because Tottenham went down to 9 men. But it's not like we were out of the game at 11 men. We put the ball in the net twice. And fine, one of them caught Raheem Sterling's hand, doesn't count. One of them Jackson's offside for. And I think that's tenuous. Goals that players have been significantly close to the goalkeeper and significantly more movement to make it look like they're going to kick the ball with goals that have stood this season than that one. So I don't think we were out of the game. They had a good 15-minute spell at the start of the game. We came back into it. And because they had a good 15 minutes at the start of the game and then didn't completely capitulate at 9 men, everyone's coming out saying they had so much fight. But
this is the thing that I wanted to ask you about with regards to us tactically in the way that we played. And the thing that was annoying, I mean, I think there was 5 goals disallowed in the game.
Yeah.
3, not 4, were ours.
We had 3 disallowed.
Yeah.
They had 2 disallowed, definitely.
Yeah. And I mean, the thing that I get why, and this is the thing that worried me the longer it went on for, with the 10 men and then the 9 men. The longer it went on for, the more I was like, are we playing the right way for this? Because we just kept getting offsides, and then when we weren't offside, when they were playing that high line, for me, the final third let us down again. I mean, don't get me wrong, there were times their keeper was absolutely fantastic. I thought he did a fair few good saves, a fair few sweeper keeper moments where he rushed out, and I was like, fair play. But there were times where we weren't getting the right pass over the top or through. It was too heavy. I mean, Cucurella messed up in the final third after a brilliant delayed run where he actually ran from a very, clearly onside position. There were times where I think it was in the first half, I want to say, even before anyone got sent off, Jackson was in the box and Gallagher was open. He could have squared it to him the entire time, but didn't. Talk to me about your thoughts on that, because I think that's the thing that's why people are saying what they're saying, because the keeper did have good moments. They were down to 9 men for quite a while, and we didn't score the second goal until the 70th minute, maybe just after the 70th.
I think it was 75th.
Yeah. And then we obviously got the last 2 in the ridiculous extra time, because both halves had lots of extra time. I think that's why people are saying that, is because we should have been more clinical. So my question to you is did that let us down a bit?
I think we should have scored more goals. Definitely. We definitely had the chances to score more goals. Jackson skied one over the bar.
After he got his hat-trick.
After he got his hat-trick. But it's these moments that you're like, okay, we've had significantly more chance against Tottenham than we'd ever expect to have against Tottenham, purely on the basis that they had 9 men and therefore you should have significant amount of more chances. But it's the same Tottenham team that had 11 against 9 against Liverpool and won 2-1. And even that game, there was that dubious offside that they were talking about having a replay of the game because the offside was dubious.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't think you can go, oh, well, obviously they're rubbish because they've only scored 4 against a team that was down to 9 men when Tottenham scraped through against Liverpool. Tottenham were expected to win this game going into the game. They are noticeably known as better than us at the minute and have been playing better than us this season. So, and a lot of the criticism I've heard has been a struggle to break them down. I don't think we struggled to break them down. We just didn't finish our chances. And there was moments of very good defending from Tottenham and some incredible pieces of goalkeeping, both as a sweeper keeper and great saves from Vicario, who, even with 4-1, I think was my man of the match in the entire game, because maybe he should have done better with one of Jackson's that was a bit close to him. But other than that, it could have been 7 or 8 if it weren't for Vicario.
Yeah.
When you compare with Sanchez made one good save for right at the end of the game for Son.
Yes.
Other than that, I don't think did he make a good save? Maybe he made one. I think he might have made one early in the game.
Yeah, I have a
He
feeling
made a
it's one in the
decent
first
save,
half.
but
Yeah.
I don't. Sanchez didn't have a lot to do. They scored a deflected goal and then one that was offside. Sanchez didn't really have a lot to do even before they went down to 11 men, before they went down to 10 men. And then it was set pieces that we just need to sort that out because that was just rubbish. We looked like conceding every time they had a set piece and we kept giving away stupid set pieces. So I
And a
think,
lot of those came during the second half when they were down to 9 men. And that, I think, again, this, along with the fact they were playing such a high line, and let's face it, I think the phrase got away with it for so long because everyone, all the pundits were saying it, even the commentators were saying it. Can't believe they're playing such a high line for so long. Whereas Jamie and Gary both said it. Traditionally, you sit back and you just absorb and then counterattack. But yeah, you're right about the set pieces because I noticed that a lot as well. I mean, Benica should have got a goal, if you ask me. That one where it hit his head, but it went down and then
it
it
was
went.
a bit of an awkward height for him. That's
Yeah.
said the commentary, and it was. But I think 2 out of 3 of those go in. It's not. It's and obviously Eric Dyer took a very well struck goal, and it was offside, but
Clearly offside. I don't know why they needed the lines, but carry on.
On a different day, it comes off Thiago Silva's head, and it's So I think what I'm more worried about is one. So there's 3 things I'm worried about after that game. One is the lack of finishing, even though
We
we
were worried about
scored
that before it
4.
went in, but we've been worried about that before. But
But
I
I think
agree
it
with you.
highlighted it more
Yeah,
on the basis of how many chances we had and how many easy, and it was the decision making as well, where we had easy
100%
options and
decision
didn't give
making.
it. We were greedy and just kind of lacked quality. I mean, Jackson should have scored a header in the first half. I don't know how Højbjerg kept that out.
It wasn't the best header. It really, it should have been better. He's hit that straight down at the ground.
Yeah.
And luckily for Højbjerg, it's come at the right height for him because let's face it, he's not a tall player.
It's not short though. So it was the naivety in giving away fouls
in the second half more.
Yeah.
And
giving away cheap set pieces that give them a chance to hurt us, because outside of that they didn't do anything. And the third point was just weakness of set pieces. I don't know if that's a tactical thing with zonal just not being right in that free kick. I like the semi-zonal, certain players just attacking the ball, certain players that the smaller ones just trying to disrupt their good players at heading the ball to give your better players at heading the ball a chance to get rid of it. But when everyone's running backwards, you just kind of want your big men on their big men and go, right, we're going to cover this threat as best we can, man for man, rather than, Eric Dyer's just at the back post or Bentaker on Cucurella. And you're like, that's a mismatch. I don't want mismatches in that situation.
No, I agree. I'm not actually a fan of zonal or semi-zonal. I like full on man for man. You get your best header versus theirs. You look at the size. And we had this conversation in the pre-season, but we actually never ended up posting those conversations, unfortunately. I still miss having somebody on the corner. Not the corner, sorry, on the post. Ashley Cole used to do it day in, day out. And for me, I would still have somebody there.
I think for corners, yes. I think I agree with you. I don't think the dangerous set pieces that they took, though, were corners necessarily. They were the in-swinging.
No, they were the free kicks. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
You can't do that. And yeah, I just don't think we need to rethink how we do that. I don't know whether it's we need to start playing Ballashil at centre back so that we have that extra height, or whether what it is, but something's not right there. We let far too many chances occur when we had a two-man advantage, and it's not like we were leaving people up the pitch either.
No.
And maybe that's the answer. Maybe we have to stick some players up the pitch so that they have to leave some back. I mean, what is Sterling doing in our box? Not a lot. The bloke's tiny. Stick him up there.
But
Give
again,
him something to think about.
he's usually actually he's used not all the time, but I have seen him used a fair amount of time as one of your little blockers. And I'm not being funny. I don't think he knows how to do that. He just gets shoved off. He just doesn't.
I think we're better off leaving him up the pitch and
Yeah,
making them make
no,
the
I
decision
agree.
of who. There's an element of let's have blockers that know what they're doing. Sterling, Mudryk. I just don't think even if they kind of ish know what they're doing, are going to do an effective job. And they're more worrying up the other end of the pitch, and the other team go, right, are we okay leaving one player with them, or do we need to leave two up there? And that's a way that you can probably take someone out of the game. If they leave everyone up there and you just have Sterling in your half, okay, fine, you're taking a gamble that you can get rid of it. But if Sanchez claims it, or we get the
Very
ball
soon.
away, Sterling's just gone because if there's no one anywhere near him. Um, so I think that needs a rethink, but I don't know what the answer is, and it's probably different for different teams. But defensively, at set pieces, we are not good enough.
No, I do agree with that. I think a lot of that is to do with the lack of height across the team, which we have previously mentioned in other podcasts. I do think there are a lot of other teams in the Premier League that are basically bigger than us and have overall actually players who are better at heading the ball. Other than that, how do you think we actually played? I mean, considering we had that slow start in the first 15 to 20 minutes, we then came alive after the first challenge on Sterling by Udogi and after the disallowed goal. Yeah, how do you think we played following that?
I think you summed up pretty well. It was a very slow start, and I think their playing it out from the back worked very well in the first 15, 20 minutes. But after that, I don't know whether it was individual mistakes or on their part or whether we forced errors, but we were winning the ball in midfield a lot more. I don't know, like Vicario misplaced the pass to Caicedo, and there was a lot more of us actually getting in front of players and winning the ball rather than for the first 15 minutes. It just every time I saw a Tottenham player on the ball, it looked like they had 15 yards of space.
Yeah,
And then after that, I think we seemed to work out who needed to be where and when, and that made them make slightly more difficult choices or make more difficult passes, and we intercepted a few of them, which really brought us back into the game. And after that, I thought we were the better team. And then
yeah,
obviously got better sent off, and you'd expect us to be the better team. But I think after the first 15 minutes, I just don't think they did a lot. I think personally, they gave us a lot easier time of it than they needed to with 9 men and even 10 men playing that high line that had already caused them problems. With the balls over the top with Sterling and Jackson, we put the ball in the net with Jackson that was offside in the first half, and they still kept playing it. They're sort of warning after warning. And it kind of takes me back to the FA Cup final that we lost against Arsenal, where we were causing Arsenal a lot of problems. And Pulisic got a goal, and Arteta changed it. And then they started causing us a lot of problems with Aubameyang's runs, and Maitland-Niles sort of switch positions, and we couldn't handle it. And you kind of just go, surely at some point you just go, this is a Chelsea team that notoriously are terrible against a low block. Even if you want to play your style of football, that's fundamentally the best way of getting points when you're trying at the minute to supposedly hunt for a title.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with what you're saying to a certain extent. I mean, firstly, I think going back to the first point with regards to like the first 15 minutes and then after, um, I think I think you're right. I think we started to suss out where we needed to be because we were then able to start putting pressure on the team. We because the first 15 minutes we were running around like headless chickens, and our first touches and our passes were absolutely bloody awful. They really did press us well. And then it did change. We changed some positioning, especially in midfield, and that created the pressure on them because that's when their passes weren't going to their players and stuff. So I completely agree with that. I think it was a bit of both. The funny thing for me is like the longer it went on for when they were down to 9 men, they were still playing that high press and getting away with it. The more I actually think their confidence rose. I agree with what you're saying. We all know that if you want to get points against Chelsea, it's sit back and park the bus basically. But they never looked worried. They always felt like it always looked like they're going to get somebody back, or the keeper came out. And I honestly think that's because the lack of quality that we had, where we did have chance after chance, when we did have chances, because of that naivety, because of the decision making, I think they actually went. They might not actually score because they haven't been clinical enough. I was still surprised that they did the high line for so long. I think if they did switch it near at the end of the game, I think they would have got the draw. And to be fair, they were still a threat set pieces, when they were going forward and they were holding up play and drawing the foul. So who knows? Maybe they could have even won it.
I mean, I was getting nervous because we weren't punishing the system, and I was scared of us getting counter-attacked. But I just think they were playing into our hands. It was the only thing that we had that was dangerous at any point in the game was the ball over the top, because we do have exceptional pace up front, even if the decision making is not great. And it's not and because we'd scored the offside ones, it's not like there was no risk. It's not that there
Yeah,
was a
no, I
warning
get
shot
that.
for
Yeah,
them. So I think for me, it was more naivety, and they can talk about bravery, but I don't think if they've been playing that style and they've won 6 games this season and they're struggling to get into the Champions League spots, I don't think you have the same reaction. I think it's only because of how well they've played and how well that system's worked for them. And we'll see what happens over the next few weeks and how well they handle these injuries and the suspensions, because their backline's depleted for the next 3 weeks at least. Van der Ven's going to be out for even longer.
yeah.
I don't know what options they have at centre back outside of, obviously, Eric Dyer came on. I don't know if they have another centre back that is ready to walk into that centre back line, and they just didn't have 2 centre backs on the bench because you wouldn't expect 2 centre backs to have an issue.
I thought they still had Sanchez.
If I'm honest, I don't know. But yeah, I think we'll see what happens in the next few weeks, because they wouldn't be the first team that, if they lose the next 3 games when they've got Dougie and Romero banned, and then they've got this Van der Ven probably is out for at least a month. Admittedly, with the international break, they might all come back at the same time, but it doesn't. They wouldn't be the first team to turn on a manager after losing 3-4 games. They had, who did they have? The ex-Wolves manager, Santo or something.
Espirito Santos.
Espirito Santo, thank you. They won the first 3 games. They're living high on life. Lost the next 3, and
It all went downhill.
was he gone after that? How many more games did he get after losing the next 3? They were flying high,
He was.
and then all of a sudden, nothing after like 8 games, they're below Arsenal again, who lost the first 3. So
I think he was there for probably around about this sort of time, maybe a little bit back into October. Because I think it was about 2 months he was there for, 2 to 3 months, and then they then finally got Conte, didn't they? Who they
Probably.
wanted originally.
I think, yeah, and I think football is an incredibly fickle sport, and Chelsea hold our hands up have been as fickle as they come. I remember Scolari,
Yeah.
where after 4 games we'd absolutely routed 3 of the teams, and everyone just thought we were going to absolutely cruise the league. And I think he was gone by Christmas.
Yeah, he was, because wasn't that the first time Gus Hiddink came in?
Yeah, so it's an incredible fickle game, and you get a bad run of results, or you get a good run of results in
Well,
a row,
mate, I
and
mean,
all of a sudden you're turning it around.
was it even Ancelotti? Was it his first season he won the double? In the second season, we didn't win a trophy, but we were still really competitive. I think we came second in the league, and
Mm.
we won something like 6-0, 6-1 at home, and he lost his job. He just got fired straight away. So yeah, I mean
I mean,
we are the worst ones for it, to be honest. But
even if you think about when Conte was manager of Chelsea, it was probably about this time that we looked like we were struggling. I think she won 13 games on the trot and ended up winning the league. So it's I don't think you can do that now in the position that we're in because of how good City are, and you've got to get around 100 points, and I think that's already gone for us. But fortunes change very quickly in football, and we'll see what happens with Tottenham with their fortunes changing, and if they do change with the players that they're going to be missing for a few games.
fair point. So overall, how would you sum up Chelsea's performance? Because we've covered a lot today.
Overall, I think it's much of the same. I think that we are sort of slowly improving a little bit, but it's much of the same. There's still the same weaknesses that we're kind of hoping that up top that we're kind of hoping Nkunku comes back and kind of fixes. Um, and I'm still not 100% confident in set pieces, and defensively, I'm just not 100% confident. And I think it's mostly Disasi that makes me feel unconfident. Um, and it's just it's not even his actual defending, really. It's him on the ball, languishing on it, and then giving it back to Sanchez, languishing on it, and then he gives it away, and we end up conceding.
Yeah, I didn't like him on the ball either yesterday. To be fair, there were some worrying moments.
So
Um,
I think the weaknesses are still showing there, and I think the strengths are kind of getting better week on week. And I think our midfield has shown that I think, will be up there with the best midfield this season. It's either side of them that you just need a little bit more quality finishing and just a little bit more. I don't want to say urgency, but just something's not quite right in the defence. And I think with Thiago Silva and Levi Colwill, we've got 2 better, calmer, better ball playing defenders that won't get us into as much trouble as we keep getting into in those middle areas anyway. I still don't. Cucurella's not great, particularly great on the ball and can get caught.
I think
I think Gusto gets caught occasionally as well, but with Reece James, he's just so strong that he can usually muscle his way out of it.
there was a couple of moments. There was a couple of moments yesterday where I was worried about his ball playing, like when he was in and around our box and we were being put pressure, but he got away with it. Don't get me wrong. But he looks like he's coming back stronger and stronger. Cucurella, I think we've said before, he's not done anything wrong. And my worrying thing with Cucurella for me is I want to say he's not done anything wrong yet. I just feel
Yeah,
like that, and that's
he's
the
just
problem.
not exceptional, is he? I mean, if you look at the chances that he's had against Brentford and he's had against
Well, the chance, yes, I'm
Tottenham,
not being funny. If that chance that he had yesterday fell to Chilwell,
yeah,
I wouldn't have been worried. Do you know what I mean? I just
I, I know Chilwell started the season a little bit hesitant in front of goal, but
But again, he's also come back from a very lengthy injury, and I think that does play on certain players' minds.
I mean, yeah, if you look at some of the goals that Chilwell have scored, and he's gone on runs where he scored 3, 4, 5 games in a row,
Yeah,
or at least 3, 4, 5 home games in a row,
from
or
outside the
something.
box as well. Like,
It is a different dimension that Cucurella just does not have,
no, he really
and
doesn't.
he's proven himself this season to be a very reasonable backup, but he is not as good going
Versatile.
forward as. But he's just not as good going forward as Chilwell is.
I don't think he's as good as going back. Like the one thing that he's got is raw pace.
Yeah,
That for
even with the
me, that and I
wind
think that's
resistance
part
of
of the
his hair,
reason.
just
Yeah, I
like
think
a
that's part
parachute back
of the
there.
reason that he did sub Colwell off is, and they were talking about it in the first half, was to do with the pace that was coming down the right side because Kulusevski and Pedro Porro aren't slow. Um, but yeah, I do agree. I still think that's a slightly weak area, and hopefully Chilwell will be back soon. Right, man of the match. Jackson obviously got it because he got his hat trick. You going with Jackson, or do you have somebody else in mind?
I think I think it probably is Jackson just because he got a hat trick. Well, it doesn't quite feel right. I think
Thank you. It does not feel right.
I
I
think Sterling
genuinely
impressed me more actually. I think Sterling had a better performance overall. Obviously, Cole Palmer played well. I don't. This is the thing. I don't. Obviously, because we won 4-1, it's very easy to give it to Jackson because he scored three. But and I don't think there was anyone that was unbelievably exceptional. But that's because it was basically a training game for like 50, 60 minutes. Um,
I mean, I'll tell you what. Actually, we'll move on to that bit in a minute. For me, I thought Gallagher was great yesterday.
yeah,
He just ran his socks off. Defensively, offensively. Um, I think he was made captain when Reece went off, and I think he actually moved further up the pitch later on in the game. I can't remember. Um, no, sorry, they didn't. They moved Palmer. That was it. They brought Mudryk on, and they brought Palmer off the wing and put Sterling on the other wing. But yeah, I know Palmer gets it a lot, but I was impressed with Gallagher. So I don't think he did anything wrong. And I think the position he was playing in, it was hard to I don't know what I'm about to say there, but also there was moments where he was using his leadership to sort of calm the team down and sort of like say no, don't take a quick free kick and this sort of
mm,
stuff. And I thought he kept a level head throughout that whole game. I just thought he didn't do anything wrong, to be honest. I thought he was just solid as he always is. Um, I do think Jackson got it because he got 3 goals. I think
yeah.
overall his performance wasn't great.
I
So
did feel slightly sorry for Jackson because there's a lot of he made a lot of run when the balls over the top were working. He was making a lot of runs and he wasn't getting the ball, and it was you could just give it to him.
early on it happened. I think we were 1-0 down by this point, and I think it was just as we turned that corner, Palmer had the ball on the right, and Jackson started making this run. I thought, oh, brilliant! And all of a sudden, Palmer, I think, does a Cruyff turn, and he turns
Mm.
around and just passes it backwards. And I thought, oh no, like if Palmer's not fucking sending the ball through to him, who the fuck is? Who the fuck is going to send the ball through to him? But yeah, I would ask you for your worst performer, but I'm pretty sure you've already summed that up with a certain centre back who you feel like you keep saying every week.
I know, and I feel bad because he's not doing anything wrong. It's more of how weak Sanchez is with the ball at his feet that makes that a problem. If we had Allison or Edison in goal, you go, that's fine, give it back to him. That's not a problem. So
Do you think we should take the worst performer out?
I think we probably should, unless there's like an absolute horror show.
Do you know what?
I don't think anyone had
I
an absolute
agree.
horror show.
I agree with what you're saying. I do think we should take it out. However, I've agreed with everything about Sanchez. I've agreed with everything about Dizazi. Cucurella, we've spoken about. Fair enough. I'm going to use the word disappointed. I was really disappointed with Mudryk when he came on. I
That's a fair
hate
point.
saying that. I hate saying that, but I literally, there was actually, no, it's a lie. There was one moment where he got the ball right on the halfway line and he sort of zigzagged him in between a few players and he laid off and then he made a run. And I was thinking, like, this game's just like Battle of the Bridge, and it's like Hazard coming on again. And I thought, this is your fucking moment. But it didn't happen, unfortunately. But yeah,
I think he got
I
swiftly
expect a
kicked
bit
by
more.
Pedro Porro. That
Huh?
was the problem. I think he got swiftly kicked by Pedro Porro. I think that was the problem.
Yeah, he bullied him, and then there was that dodgy challenge where he basically just ran into the guy. Like he didn't even put a challenge in. It was barely anything. He rolled around, got a free kick, slowly got up and turned around to the Spurs fans behind him and started giving yes, and got up and walked on fine. I was just like, you scumbag.
Yeah, that was. And then the Vicario also absolutely played one for him.
Yeah.
It was the most bizarre clearance. He could have he could have just got there, cleared it. He probably would have had time to trap it and pass it to someone. For some reason, he just ambled across and then slid
Yeah.
when he didn't need to, and
I
then
actually think
ran
Mudryk
through him.
struggles to come on during a game. I can't remember how long he had. I think it must have been about 20 minutes.
I think he had a
15
fair amount.
minutes.
With the added time, it was probably a good half hour.
Yeah, well,
But
yeah. I think he struggles to pick up like the intensity and like the level of the game when he has to come on as a sub.
yeah, I also think Pedro Porro is actually just a very good defender.
Oh, he's
And
good. He had a good game. He did have a good
Mudryk's
game.
just coming back from injury, so
Yeah,
you can't expect him to be at even the top level that we've seen him for at Chelsea, which is not where we'd hoped he'd be. Um, but yeah, you're right. I think he was slightly disappointed when he came on in a game that should have worked quite well for him in terms of there's a lot of space in behind for him to run into.
exactly.
Didn't
Nine
time his
men.
runs properly. When he
Yeah.
did, he didn't get the ball in. There was that ridiculously poor cross where he kicked out of play.
Speaking of crosses, we didn't mention it. The ball from Reece James to Raheem Sterling when Sterling got the ball, and then he then ran in the box and scored his goal, which hit his hand. The outside of the foot, he just pinged it from the outside of his foot, and it was the best cross of the game. I think it
I
was.
don't remember it, if I'm honest.
Oh, definitely look at it again because
Okay.
yeah, it just comes out of nowhere. He just runs onto this ball and just I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure it's outside of the foot, and it is beautiful. And unfortunately, like I said, the ball ends up hitting Sterling later on in the same phase of play when he scored. So it doesn't count, but that would have been a pretty nice assist because I'm pretty sure after Sterling got the ball from Reece James, that's literally just that was it. He then went into the box and scored, but obviously it hit his hand first. Right. Anything else you would like to add to the Spurs away game?
I think that's all from me. Anything you've got?
I mean, I went through a roller coaster of emotions like the whole day, let alone the fucking match. Ronnie was like, "Do you know what? I don't need to fucking watch it because I will hear everything just from you being in the living room."
Yeah,
And I was
my
like, "No, I'm
housemate got
not that
upset with
bad.
me.
I'm not that bad." And at one point, she came in. She was like, "You're all right." And I was like, "You're not. You wouldn't believe this fucking game." And I went back into the bedroom afterwards. I was fucking speechless. She went, "You okay?" And I was just like, "That result does not sum up the game." I was like,
Yeah.
I don't think I've gone through that many emotions in a Chelsea game since the Battle of the Bridge. And dare I say it, that Barcelona semi-final at home where we were fucking robbed. Not saying it's the exact same emotions, but just that level of intensity like that I went through. I don't think I've been
The
through that.
the other one that I had in my mind was the Ajax 4-4 at home, where they got two
Oh,
players sent off.
what a game.
That was the only other game that I was like, fuck, yeah, that's the only one that I can remember that compares to just like the up, down, left, right of it. I think
Either
The
that. Do you
Barcelona
know what?
one
I'm
is
going
just
to
in a
throw.
different category, but
I know. I'll throw one more in there for you as the Real Madrid second leg game, the year that we won the Champions League under Tuchel. But it comes after the Ajax one, but it just made me think of that from that season.
I mean, we had a fair few weird games that year.
Yeah, we did. No, but do you know what? Overall, I still am. I think I'm still processing it. I literally the whole day today, I was going. I don't know how to talk about this game. I don't know how I'm supposed to ask you questions.
I, I had to rewatch it.
Mate, I did as well this evening. I didn't stop for lunch either today, and then I went to an appointment and I came back and literally when I was waiting to go in for my appointment, I was like, right, watch the highlights again. And I just started making some notes. And I did the same thing when I got back here before we started. And even then, when I watch it back, I'm just like, Jesus Christ. So
I was coming back from jiu-jitsu trying to watch it on my phone. Like first half, I watched it on my phone, and I'm sat. So when I first get on, we're 1-0 down. I'm like, fuck, this isn't gonna be good.
five and a half
This
minutes
is gonna
in
be
as
a
well.
fucking
1-0
shit
down, five and a
show.
half minutes in.
And then about 2 minutes later, Son scores, and I'm like, oh, fuck, man, it's gonna be a long fucking evening, isn't it? Then it gets chalked off, and I'm giving it the fucking come on at Imperial Wharf Station. But I sat there for 20 minutes waiting for the train, and then finally get on one, got on the wrong one because the signage was shit. Um, and then I'm at Clapham Junction station while the pen's happening. And to the right of me, as I'm like walking off, other people are watching it on their phone and they start wildly celebrating. I'm like, I don't know what team you're supporting. I don't know if it's been saved. I don't know if we scored it. And I'm just like, oh my God. And then it went in and I was like, trying to be as reserved as I could be on at the train station. And then my housemate Dan got very upset with me when I came back because I was being very loud in the second half.
You know what? That actually reminds me of the Battle of the Bridge game because I can't remember where I've been. I think I've been in London or I've been out somewhere, and you were at home by yourself. And I was listening. I think I was listening to the game on my earphones, and I was so hungry that when I got back to Northern Station, although the game had already kicked off, I decided to quickly go around the corner to H&H and get some fried chicken. Just as I'm getting into the taxi, we're 2-0 down at this point. Cahill scores. And I get this, I'm like, yes! Like literally, I get back, I shit you not. You know how much I love fried chicken. Not only that, you know how much I love H&H. I remember sitting next to you on that sofa back at home, well, our parents' house now. And when Hazard scored that goal, my fried chicken and chips nearly went all over the place. Like I'll never forget that. It just, yeah. But at the end of the day, I'm so happy that we didn't lose. Like it kind of reminded me of the importance for this game for some reason. It reminded me of that season where I think we finished 10th. And William was our best player that season by a long stretch. It was the year that Leicester won. So it was the Battle of the Bridge, yeah. And for me, it was like we just let ourselves down massively. And I went, we are not losing to Spurs. Like if we lose to Spurs now after everything else we've done, the way that we've played, I was like, I can't stand it. The one thing that we can hold our heads up high, because by this point they still haven't beaten us at the Bridge, and that's what it was. But for me, it was like seeing Spurs on top of the league made me sick, and I just felt like we needed a win against a big team to really spur us on. I don't get how it happened, but spur us on through the next. Because when we got City next, for fuck's sake, and Newcastle and United and Brighton, I think.
Yeah.
Not in that
That's the
order.
next four. I think
But
that's the
yeah.
next four. I don't think that order, yeah.
Yeah. Very
Right.
happy we won. But yeah, on that note, that's the longest podcast we've done for a while. Thank you all for watching. Stay tuned for the Man City pre-game.